Hiya, I'm Emma and I'm a This Girl Can Suffolk ambassador, and I just wanted to make a series of videos really to help anyone who is thinking about taking up cycling and not really quite sure where to start. I started cycling about 18 months ago and I've learnt a lot in that time. I've still got a lot to learn, but I just wanted to make, as I say, a series of videos just to help people who are thinking of starting out. This particular one, I just wanted to talk about the basic equipment that I've got, so basically my bike, just to sort of give you a bit of a clue as to perhaps what you might want to look for if you're thinking of buying your own bike. So let's get started. So cycling can be a really expensive hobby, but it doesn't have to be, and you can, if you're quite clever about it, you can kind of accumulate quite a lot of stuff without a massive outlay really. So this is how I went about it. So my bike is a road bike. I bought it from a company called Ribble. I think they're based up in Preston, but they have an online bike builder website, so you can basically customise your own bike. You can choose your frame, your handlebars, your tape, the wheels. Basically you can customise every single component on your bike. I will say before doing that you probably do need to do a bit of research as to what sort of thing you want, and specifically the dimensions that you need. I'm only 5'4", so I'm not very tall, and I do have back problems, so I knew I was going to have a bit of a problem being in that sort of road bike position really. So what I did to start out was to go around to some bike shops and actually just sit on different bikes. Depending on the make of the bike, different frame sizes suit different size of person. So yeah, definitely go and sit on a few different sorts of bikes and kind of get a feel for what sort of frame size you're likely to need. The reason I went for Ribble wasn't so much the fact that I could customise the bike. Actually, they just had a deal on, and that was it. I got my bike through the cycle scheme. So in the UK here we have a government scheme which allows you to buy a bike through a sort of a hire agreement, and you basically avoid paying the tax on it. So and you pay through sacrificing an amount of your salary each month. So over the period of 12 months you get to pay off your bike, and you end up with the bike at the end of it. So so I got my bike through the cycle scheme through my employer, and as I say, Ribble happened to have a deal on, so I got the smallest frame possible. I don't know if you can see there, it says the 7005 Sportiva, and this is a women's specific one, so you've got the women's specific geometry, has a lower standover height, and just a little bit more compact. So I got the smallest frame size I could possibly get on Ribble, and then got the shorter handlebar stem. So I don't know if you can see here, this thing across here, you can get different dimensions, different lengths. So again, I got the shortest one possible, so that the distance between the saddle and the handlebars wasn't too great, and that seems to work for me. So yeah, the bike was, I think with the deal that I got, was about £600. So you know, in the grand scheme of things, it is an entry level bike. You can spend thousands and thousands of pounds. It isn't a fully carbon bike. Obviously carbon is a lot lighter, and you know, you do get some gains in terms of speed if that's the sorts of thing that you're looking for, but to be honest, when you're starting out, for me anyway, I wasn't too worried about that. I wasn't even sure if I was even going to like it, so I didn't want to spend too much money on a really whizzy bike, only for it to sit in the garage gathering dust. Thankfully that hasn't happened, and maybe I might look at getting a better spec bike in the future, but at the moment I'm quite happy with this. And this one has got carbon forks apparently as well, so that apparently absorbs some of the vibrations from the road, so that when you are in the saddle for a long time, you know, it's a bit easier on your arms really. I will say also another thing to think about, one of the other things to think about is the dimensions of your handlebars as well. So just think about the sort of width of your shoulders and try and get the handlebars to match so that you're not sort of reaching inwards or outwards. They you know, can be quite comfortable or uncomfortable depending on how your bike is set up. And the saddle as well. So this one is, I think, actually a male specific saddle. Part of my naivety really when I was ordering the bike to not get a women's specific saddle, and it's fine up to about 20 miles. After that it does get a little bit uncomfortable, so I am going to think about possibly changing that in the future. So yeah, that's the bike itself really. As I say, that all came, it's a package for about £600. When I did first get the bike, I did have normal pedals that I just would ride in my trainers. I was frankly just a bit too scared to kind of go up to the proper pedals. There's lots and lots and lots that you can choose from. I did take the plunge and go for what we call clipless pedals, which is really odd because you're kind of clipped into them. But yeah, essentially your bike shoes. So if you can see here, these are my bike shoes, and you have the cleats underneath, and these essentially clip into here, so your foot is essentially attached to your bike, and that's quite daunting at first when you're riding along and you feel like you're attached to the bike, but it makes a massive difference in terms of your speed and ability to climb hills and things. You can pull the pedal up as well as push down on it. So yeah, that took me probably at least 6 months, I think, before I was brave enough to change up the pedals. But I bought these were, I can't quite remember, probably £40, something like that. It might have been cheaper. And yeah, I got these about 9 months ago now. So and I love it. I'm so glad that I've changed up to it, and certainly wouldn't go back to normal pedals now. So yeah, the bike didn't really come with anything. Through the cycle scheme you can get a number of accessories, and I'd kind of got all the accessories I really needed at the time, so I didn't buy anything extra. But you can kind of accumulate bits and pieces depending on what sorts of deals are on in different shops or online, or even places like Aldi and Lidl have some really good deals and things sometimes. So basically on my bike I've got 2 sets of lights. This was one that I had on my old mountain bike, so this is really, really old now, but it still does the job. And this particular bike light as well, which I've got attached to my saddlebag. That came from Aldi, was tenner or something. It was really, really, really bright. These saddlebags are really cool, so you can get all sorts of makes and models and sizes, but these basically just clip into the back of your saddle, and you can keep all manner of stuff in there really. Most people tend to keep some spares, so I've got a spare inner tube and some tools and things in there, and if we're going out for long bike rides I can also fit a sort of rain jacket in there and my money and stuff like that, so that's really handy to have. And obviously because it sits underneath your saddle, it's kind of out of the way and you can kind of forget about it. I've also, throughout the period of having my bike, tried different top tube bags. So I did have one that was a bit longer and flatter, and I would keep my phone in there, and sort of my gels or bits and pieces and food and stuff. Over time that kind of had a lot of wear and kind of had seen better days, so I treated myself to a new bag. This is a toe peak bag. These come in different sizes as well, but these are really, really handy because they're really easy to open and shut while you're actually riding along. And again, I keep my tissues and lip balms and keys and gels and all sorts of manner of things in there really, and these attach really, really easily. They're just velcro straps under here, so they come on and off in 5 seconds flat really, so they're really handy. Got my front light on here, so this is all my lights are rechargeable, and come off really easily as well. So this just has a sort of a rubber attachment on there, and you can basically plug this straight into a USB port. So that charges up really easily, and it's got lots of different settings on that. I then also for my birthday asked for some wiggle vouchers to get a few bits and pieces, and one of the things that I did treat myself to was a Garmin. So again, this is only entry level, but what this does is it's like a GPS tracker, so it tracks where you've been, how far you've gone, what speed you're going, what elevation you've done. Through the Garmin apps, you can plot your routes and send it to this device. So actually, you can, if you're going somewhere you're unfamiliar territory, you can plot your routes in there and use this as a bit of a sat nav as well. So that's really cool, and you've got no shame of getting lost or anything then. Got some bottle holders as well. So when we first set out, one was plenty enough to go out for an hour or two. When we started to train for the longer sportives last year, sportives are basically cycle events. They're not races, so although a lot of the time they are timed, there's no race. You do that in your own pace, and all sorts of different distances. So we started to aim for sort of some 50, 60, 70 mile rides, and of course we needed a bit more liquid, especially when it was warmer in the summer. So I invested in another bottle cage. These came from Amazon, I think, somewhere like that, and just another bottle as well, which probably came from Amazon or Wiggle or something like that. Again, not very much, in the region of £5, £10, £15, but when you kind of just get them in dribs and drabs over the course of months and months, depending on when these deals are on, you haven't got a massive outlay. You can just kind of do it in bits and pieces, and of course when birthdays or Christmases come up, hopefully your kind friends and family can sort you out with some vouchers so that you can start to accumulate stuff really. So yeah, that's the setup. Obviously I do have a helmet. Didn't think to bring that in the house for this video, so unfortunately I can't show you that, but again it's just an entry level version, as is my shoes. So these are just Shimano's. They cost, I can't remember, probably 30-40 quid, something like that. And again, you can get different versions. I preferred these versions because the cleats are recessed into the sole, which means that you can walk on them completely fine. The standard road shoes tend to have the cleats that sit out, so they're quite difficult to walk on. And again, with my back the way it is, I didn't really want to take any chances. So I find they're a lot easier to clip in and out of on the bike, and as I say, a lot easier to walk around on as well. So they kind of work for me. It's fine, they might not work for other people, but they work for me. So that's kind of the setup that I have really. Use this bike for lots of commuting and lots of sportives and just sort of general riding about the place really. And the setup that I have here is something that works for me. It kind of caters for any eventuality really. So yeah, what else is there to talk about? So I think probably for me, starting out and not being a member of a bike club, and not really having any friends or anyone that I knew at the time that was into cycling, it was quite difficult to figure the whole world out really, and what things meant and what were the proper ways of doing things, or even just silly things like how to change an inner tube when we got a puncture. And I think this is where social media is really good. So I spent a lot of time reading up about things online, but actually YouTube videos were really helpful. I would certainly say to sign up to some YouTube channels so that you can pick up hints and tips and stuff. The Global Cycling Network, GCN, definitely go for that. They have lots and lots of different sort of videos about how to maintain your bike, or certain skills when you're on the bike, or sort of training programs and things like that. If you're a female cyclist like me, then some of the videos online you might not necessarily relate to, because I think, like a lot of things, it's still quite a male dominated world, but there are some awesome female cyclists out there, and not necessarily just pros, but normal people like you and I. And there are a few channels that I'd highly recommend, that I have learnt so much from. Katie Kookaburra is definitely one, lady from up near Manchester, I think, and she's not a pro cyclist, but she has posted so many videos about how to do certain things, or just about her rides, and it's really cool to see her getting out there and doing those things. And yeah, I've learnt a lot about what to wear and what to do and what not to do from her videos. And a few other channels that I found more recently. So Ride On Cycling, another lady who who's just posted lots of videos about how to do certain things and what she gets up to. Juliet Elliott, and Kelsey Lee. Juliet, I think, is UK based, and Kelsey Lee is actually based in the US. But again, female cyclists who aren't necessarily pros, but hopefully people that you can relate to, because they're normal like you and I. So yeah, definitely check those people out. As I say, I've learnt a lot from them, and actually been quite inspired by them as well, to see that you haven't got to be necessarily a superhuman to be able to go out and ride 60-70 miles at a time. Yeah, so definitely check them out, and that would be a good place to start, I think. So yeah, thanks for listening. Please do check out the This Girl Can Suffolk campaign and my fellow ambassadors. I'll put all the links to all of the channels and things that I've mentioned, and the This Girl Can Suffolk campaign, in the description below the video. And yeah, just keep an eye out for my future videos. Really, I will do one on my commute and how I pack and organise myself for my commute to work, and the different sorts of clothing and things that I've kind of accumulated, and the things that I've learned from them, what works, what doesn't work for me. So yeah, watch this space for some new videos. Thanks for watching.